is Tzadi Tet 99, today's daf, and we pick up at the bottom Tzadi Chedem with Bet. And actually, for better or worse, I'll let you decide. We're not leaving the Agadita fully, but we are leaving the immediate Agadita around the precedent of Tchias HaMeisim and Olam Haba and Yemot HaMashiach. Okay, we have an Amud left, and then we're going to transition to the next part of the mission, right? The mission said the following have no portion in the world to come. So we've been discussing Tchias, and somebody says there's no Tchias HaMeisim from the Torah. So we've been discussing Tchias HaMeisim and Olam Haba, and of course, within that context, Yemot HaMashiach. And then we're going to start getting on to the rest of the list. Somebody says there's no Torah Sinai, etc., etc. Okay, so we're going to start that very soon, but we have one Amud still to finish, and we pick up on the bottom of Tzadi Chedem with Bet.
So you let us decide what?
Decide whether you think it's for better or for worse. Okay, so the Gemara says like this. Okay, the first of the widest lines. Amar Rav, Lo Ivri Amar El David. The world was created for the sake of David HaMelech. The Shmuel Amar, not with David Shmuel. The Shmuel Amar, LeMoshe, was created for the sake of Moshe Rabbeinu. The Yochanan Amar, LeMashiach, for Mashiach. And then the Gemara is going to get into all discussion, what's the name of the Mashiach? But I think that this is a fascinating debate, right? In a way, you all clearly understand the answer LeMoshe the best, which is the classic sort of rabbinic approach, right? The world is created for Torah, for us to learn Torah, for us to do mitzvot. Mashiach, you also understand, right? That ultimately we reach a time of a final redemption, or like a greater perfected world is the sense of like the messianic times. Okay, but what's the idea of the David?
Maybe tefillah.
So that's interesting. David in terms of like Tehillim and tefillah, because we've had a whole theme before about. Rashi says David was tefillah. I didn't. Oh, thank you. I even forgot the Rashi there. Oh, that's nice. So you have tefillah, Torah, and like more of a tikkun olam perfected world. I was actually thinking about David that's not very nice. I was actually thinking about David in sort of comparison and contrast to Mashiach, because David is also, right, Mashiach ben David, right? But David is more sort of like a imperfect, it's still within the more imperfect world, right? It's sovereignty, it's a king who's righteous. Of course, he sins too, right? I mean, come on, with Bakev, all those things, he does shuvah, right? So it's sort of like, are we living our lives to get to that future perfect reality? Or maybe the goal actually is to live the most perfect or the least imperfect life, that we can in this world. Without sort of that envision of like a future, more perfect world. Sort of like the Rambam. So I think it's interesting thinking about the contrast, right, between David and Mashiach, which could be like variations on a theme, but how much is it about something, more perfect, or how much is it like, no, the best we can in the imperfect world in which we live. Okay, so anyway, now the Gemara switches to say, Ma Shemo, what's Mashiach's name? So this is a very cute Gemara. Today, Rabbi Shila Amar, so the house of Rabbi Shila says, Shilo Shmo. His name is Shilo, right? They're making after their own names. Okay, Shene Amar, Aki Avo Shilo, until Shilo comes. Okay, today Rabbi Yana Amar, Yanun Shmo. Yana Yanun. His name is Yanun Shmo. Shene Amar, as it says, Yehi Shmo La'olam, let his name be forever. Lifnei Shemesh Yanun Shemo. Before the sun, his name is Yanun. Before, like the sun, we had the whole vision before about how the sun will be brighter and so on. So before that period, okay, the Mashiach will come. Today, Rabbi Chanina Amar, Chanina Shemo. His name is Chanina. Shene Amar, Asher Lo Etein Lachem Chanina. Okay, that I still have not given you Chanina. Yesh Omrim, and some say Menachem ben Chizkiah Shemo. Shenemar ki richach mimenu minachem. Okay, now that Yeshom might still be a variation of Reb Chanina Minachem. Meishiv Nafshi. Okay, so he's still distanced from us. Okay, Rabbanan Amar. So again, what is the point of doing all of this? It's not clear, but we're going to see in a minute. It might sort of be echoing back the idea before about when will he come? Today, So if these are like, it's not Rav Shila said his name is Shilo. It's the house of Rav Shila, the house of Rav Yanai, right? So maybe it's like each one of these schools is saying our Rebbe in theory could be the Mashiach. Okay, right? Now that could get dangerous, right? If it goes from the in theory to is, right, the Mashiach. But nevertheless, that sense of like we can anticipate it. And there are people nowadays who in theory have that potential. So it's cute, this idea about like naming it, like identifying their Rebbe as the one. For Rabbanan, the rabbis say Chivra de Beirav Rebbe Shmo. No. It is the lepers or the sick of the house of Rebbe. We're going back to the idea of him being a sickly person, a suffering servant. Shne'emar Achein Cheliyenu Hu Nasa. Our illnesses he bears, Umachovenu Sivlam, and our wounds he suffers. We have considered him to be a leprous one, smitten by God, and afflicted. Okay, so that's again the sort of image of the afflicted Mashiach.
We never had that in history.
Right. Well, that's exactly it. They got it from somewhere. Amar Rabbi Nachman, Imin Chayahu, if he's somebody living, okay, and Rashi has two versions, like are we actually identifying who he might be, or if he's comparable to somebody who is living, right? Gets back, but it's obviously echoing some of that idea we had just a minute ago. So Kigon Ana. I would be a good example of who could be Mashiach. Now, why is he saying that? It's sort of like, it's a little like, give yourself a nice little pat on the back there. Okay, but also the Maharsha points out, right, that Rav Nachman had a position of political leadership. So, the idea, again, that Mashiach is also a political leader and the head of the Jews. Okay, so somebody like me. The glorious one will be him, and the ruler will come from their midst. So, here I am. I have political power, and I'm from within the the Jewish people, and so on.
It doesn't sit well with like him being Minugeh and Mukashchin.
I know. So these are different visions. They don't all reconcile, Michael. Amar Rav. Imin Chayahu could go to Rabbeinu HaKodesh. If he is like somebody who's living, it would be like Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, right? That's a perfect example. Religious and political leader. Imin Mesayahu, if he's comparable to somebody who has already passed away, you go in Daniel Yishchamudot. Daniel also, right? He was a religious leader. He was given power. I mean, he was given not sort of like dominion over the Jews, power in the non-Jewish sort of political system. But obviously, it's an interesting mix of those qualities. I'm going to have Yehuda Marav.
Is Daniel actually called Yishchamudot in the Torah, in the Navi, or is it just like that's a rabbinic appellation?
Yeah, they say.
What do they say?
He's called Ish Hamadot.
Yeah, there's a verse somewhere.
Daniel 10.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. There will be another David. So not only a son of King David, but he will be another David. What does that mean? His name will be David? Does it mean that he will be somehow, in some ways, a copy of King David? Okay, as the verse says, they will serve Hashem, they got in David their king, that I will raise up for them. He came that I have risen up. It does not say Akim, I will raise up. Only a proper Rabbi, but doesn't it say the David Avdi Nasi Alehem? He will be a prince. A prince is not the same as a king. The Olam. So the Gemara says no. Kigon. Caesar upagi Caesar. No, like you have the Caesar and a half Caesar. So yes, so fine. King David, there will be Mashiach will be Ben Yosef. So it's not exactly. So if you look at Rashi says Caesar upagi Caesar. Melech v'sheni lo, King David hachadash Melech. Kirsiv David Makam Asher Akim. David HaMelech sheni lo. So the resurrected King David will be the second in command, the executive vice king, and the newly born David. Again, I don't know what the point is calling him a new David, rather than just calling him a Ben David. Okay, again, maybe he'll be similar in ways to David. Anyway, he will be the king. All right, I don't know what exactly the point of all that is. Okay, Amalei Rav Papa Abaye. V'haksi, but doesn't it? I just did that. Tarish Rav Simlai. Rav Simlai explicated or expounded. Ma'idachsi, what's meant by the verse? Hoi hamitavim et yom Hashem. Woe to those who yearn for the day of God. Lama zeh lachem yom Hashem. Why are you yearning for the day of God? Why are you so eager to bring it? It's sort of like the Gemara before about Chevlei Mashiach. Okay, uchoshech, the low war. It'll be a day of darkness, not light. Which again could mean the period prior, right, to the Messianic era. So he says, Mashal Tarnago v'atalev. So it's like consider you had a rooster and a bat. Shayum mitzapim lor. They were both in the middle of the night, and they were both expecting daybreak anytime soon. Amalei Tarnago v'atalev. Ani mitzapim ora. Sure, Shali, I understand why I'm waiting for daybreak. That's my time. I get to, the rooster crows in the morning, etc. Right? That's the time that I'm a diurnal animal. Is it diurnal? Is that the opposite of nocturnal? Yes, yeah. I think so. Diurnal animal. Why are you the bat waiting for night? The night isn't going to be good for you. So anyway, so the point is, it is a day of darkness, but a day of darkness to those who will be punished. Meaning, the Gemara is not reading this as the Chevli Mashiach, or even the righteous suffer. It's reading this as the period of the Messianic period, where the righteous are rewarded. But why are you, the wicked, looking for the time of Mashiach? That's going to be a bad time for you. You're like the bat when the night comes. Okay, top of Tzadi Kedmet Aleph. That's like that Min said to Rabbi Avo. When will Mashiach come? When darkness covers those people, meaning you guys, you sectarians or apostates or whatever. Amalei mila kalightly? Are you cursing me? Amalei kroxi. Basically, well, yeah, but okay, it's a pasuk. Darkness will cover the land, and thick darkness, thick clouds, the nations. On you, God will shine forth. Excuse me. All right. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer. Now that we've dealt with the issue about Chavlei Mashiach, which was sort of yesterday, and and then this question about like who's named Mashiach, who in theory could be the Mashiach, etc. Now we're getting to how long will the Messianic period be leading into, because after the Messianic period, we're going to have Olam Haba, remember? Okay, so Tanya. Rabbi Eliezer, 40 years. For 40 years, I have seized the generation. Why we assume that has to do with Mashiach is not clear. Rashi tries to explain, like it means a special generation. So,
we're not going to be Dor Midbar.
What? Well, it is Dor Midbar Pshat. Rashi acknowledges that. Anyway, but he just says, I will seize them, meaning I will be king over them for 40 years, and then will be the new period. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer, Shivim Shana, 70 years. That day, Tyre will be forgotten for 70 years. Like the period of one king. So the Gemara says, what is the unique, distinctive king? So in passing, the verse is indicating that the reign of the special king will be for 70 years. Okay, Rabbi Omer, Shlosha Dorot, 3 generations. Shanema Yirauchim Shemesh, they will see you before, with the sun. Again, the sun is like the Messianic period. V'lifnei Yareach, and before the moon. So again, exactly, the moon is like, maybe Rashi says, I think, what does he say? Malchut, the moon represents the kingdom of Beis David. Okay, so I don't know how we get it. Okay, so anyway, so the sun is identified with Messianic times, as was already seen, and before the moon with King David's time. Okay, Dor Dorim, generations. So 1 generation plus 2 is 3 generations. Now, once we have the Messianic period going for more than a simple generation, are we assuming that means that people will live for a super long time in that period? Or does that just mean that, no, not that King Mashiach will live for that long. He'll die, his son will rule, etc. And this is a Messianic period, okay? So that's, I think that's left open. Rabbi Hillel Omer, now we saw this the other day. Rabbi Hillel says, Ein lehem Mashiach Yisrael. Nah, there's not going to be any Mashiach. Shekvar achlu b'mei Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu was the fulfillment of all those prophecies. He was the person that all the prophets were prophesying about. So Amar Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef said, Sharalei Mari Rabbi Hillel. His master should forgive Rabbi Hillel. God should forgive you for such an error statement, such a wrong-headed statement. Okay, Chizkiah Amos-Havi B'Vais Rishon. Chizkiah was in the first place on Mikdash, but so many of the Messianic prophecies are after that period. Okay, Ilu Zechariah, Ben Zechariah. This was not the Zechariah who was killed in the first place on Mikdash. It was the Chagai Zechariah Malachi, the Zechariah of the prophets who came back in the second base on Mikdash. Kamisnabi B'Vais Sheni. He was prophesying in the time of the Bais Sheni. And he said, Gili ma'od bat Zion, rejoice greatly, daughter of Zion. Hari'i bat Yerushalayim, shout forth, daughter of Jerusalem. Hinei malkeich yavo, your king will still come. Tzaddik v'no shahu, ani v'rochai v'alachamor. The whole poor person riding on the donkey. That's the vision of Zechariah. V'alayar ben atanot, and on whatever, also a donkey, the son of a female donkey.
What would he say to
Okay, I don't know what he would say to it. Maybe, I don't know. Now, of course, the other question is, what does he think? He thinks that there's not going to be any Olam Haba, like there's no future period of a redeemed world in his vision. So if you look at Rashi, right, Rashi says, Ein la Mashiach Yisrael, about 10 lines down in the narrow lines on the right-hand side, Ela Kadosh Baruch Hu yimloch be'atzmo v'yigalem levado. So he's not denying that there's going
something
to be
nice about that.
Right. Well, yeah, but it also that's that whole question of is it from above or from below? So Rashi can't believe that he basically fundamentally disagrees with his sort of eschatological vision, right? And that might be a partial explanation to how he answers these verses that see a messianic period. He says, but it's not going to be a this worldly king, right? It's not going to be a new King David, right? So it almost sounds like we're going to jump straight to the Olam Haba period. It's not going to be it's not even going to be through a human king. We're going to be directly with God as our king. So does that mean, again, straight to an Olam Haba period with a transformed world? Does it mean that maybe it fits in with a good whole idea of a democracy? We're not going to need a king in the future. We're going to be able to worship God directly, but it doesn't mean a different type of a world. It just means that we'll, won't need a king to help us do that.
I mean, it means we're on a higher level. Really.
Right, or something like that. Anyway, it still is pretty strange. And look, this idea that there's this Rabbeinu Hillel that rejects the idea that there's a Mashiach, okay? I mean, if you think about what are the things that Ein Lahem Chelek Olam Haba, right? Mashiach isn't mentioned, right? It's Homer, Ein Tchias HaMesim Yotar, Ve'ein Torah Min HaShamayim. Where was it? That's basically a Apikoros, okay? So,
well, Apikoros is pretty.
Well, we'll see what Apikoros means. Apikoros in the Rambam means something much broader than it means in the Gemara. So anyway, the idea, this led, as I mentioned the other day, to an interesting question, right? Which is that, does that mean that dogma can be paskined? Okay, in the Gemara, you never have the idea of a belief in a Mashiach as being some central part of Emunah. Obviously, it's, but in later, the Rambam or whatever, these ideas become part of what's seen as classic dogma. And if you don't believe in Mashiach, then that it will come, then what are you? Then you're not Bikaris, and what are the whole consequences of that, etc. Now a lot of that gets developed in Rambam and it's not clear in the Gemara. But it raises an interesting question about how could you have a debate about it. So David Bleich, who wrote this book In Perfect Faith, which is a compendium of all the different positions of the Rishonim on the Yud Gimel Ikrei Emunah. In his introduction, if I'm remembering correctly, he basically discusses this issue of the position of Rabbeinu Hillel and says basically, Emunah could be paskined. And that if we're fine, we paskined against him, and therefore, and now it is a kfira to deny that there's a Mashiach. And you're not Pikaris. Before we paskined that way, Rav Hillel wasn't that way, but now it is. Mark Shapiro, sort of disagree, has written on issues of belief in dogma, whatever. And he says, obviously the assumption about dogma is not a question about deciding how to act, but it's a question about eternal truths, and either they are true or they're not true. So that could be, meaning it could be that we've decided that Hillel was wrong. The question is, so it's not the psak, meaning it could be that we're saying that Rabbi Hillel was always wrong. It's not like before we paskined he wasn't wrong and now he is wrong. It could be he always was wrong as a matter about what actually is going, what the right beliefs are, what actually is going to happen. But the question is that does the question of the consequence of not having the right beliefs, is that a matter of psak, right? You understand? There's two questions, what are the right beliefs, right? And are they objectively true or not? That obviously you want to say, of course, when presumably these are questions of whether they're objectively true or not, right? Even things that are future oriented. Okay, on the other hand, whether there's an idea of psak in terms of what are the consequences of having wrong dogma and wrong beliefs. Anyway, it's a really interesting question, seeing that now Rabbeinu Hillel was not Rav Hillel was not a major figure in the Gemara. I challenge you to find where else Rav Hillel gets quoted anywhere else in Shas. It's a minor figure, but nevertheless, it's not so much like a major figure held this, unorthodox opinion. It's that the Gemara, doesn't treat it with any big horror. Oh my God, how could somebody say there's never going to be a Mashiach? God should forgive you for saying such a stupid thing. And the only rejection was because, there's a pasuk. I mean, so the Gemara doesn't react to it in this horrific way. So it's interesting thinking about the significance of that in terms of issues of, a range of, when there are debates about issues of dogma, etc. Okay, anyway, so now we continue. Tanya Ida, we've done another brisa. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Yemosar Mashiach Arbaim Shana 40 years. Here it says, God afflicted you and made you starve. And he fed you the man. So that was for 40 years. Make us rejoice like the days of our affliction. The days that we have sought evil. So those days were 40, and the assumption is that 40 days transfers into 40 years. Now, why 40 days transfers into 40 years? It's like Raglim, a Yom Lashana. Although Rashi says some have the gear said that it was 40,000 years because of the idea that a day of God is 1,000 years. All right. See, anyway, so we're.
You see some people say Moshe will be 40,000
years. Yeah, well, we'll see something close to that in a minute. Maybe those some are 400 years. So the days of our affliction is 400 years. Rabbi Omer Gimel Meos Rishishim V'Chamesh Shana, 365 years. Communion Moshe Chama, like the days of the solar year. Shenemar Ki Yom Nakam B'Libi, a day of vengeance is in my heart. V'Shanos Geulai Ba, and the day of my redemption is coming. My Yom. So anyway, and again, an assumption of 1 day per year. Of course, here Rashi, actually, it wasn't Rashi before at the 40,000. I made a mistake. Here Rashi has the Girsa that has 365,000. Okay. Same idea though. Do you transfer a day to a year or a day to 1,000 years? All right. Okay. I have revealed it to my heart, but not to my, to my limbs, meaning I haven't even said to myself what that day of future redemption will be. It is so secret in a way, God isn't even acknowledging it to God's self. So it just shows how, impossible it is to anticipate and how hidden it is. Maybe a little less hidden. No, I've let my heart know, but I didn't let the angels know. Like, okay, I admitted it to myself. I haven't told it to anybody else. But still, we're talking about like how, hidden this day is. Tanya Avimi Braid Rabbi Yavo, Yemosar Mashiach L'Yisrael, Shiva Salafim Shana, 7,000 years. Okay, so here it's explicit. If before it was a question of Girsod, here at least you're already getting into the thousands of years. Shenemar, Umisos Chasan al Kala Yasis Alayich Elohayich, like the rejoicing of a Chasan al Kala. So the same way there are 7 days of the Sheva Brachos and Mei Nishta, so 1 day per 1,000 years. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, or 1,000 years per day. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Yemosar Mashiach Kiyom Sheniva Olam Ad Chashav. The Messianic period will be the same period as world history until now, from the creation of the world. So 5,700 and whatever, depending on when he comes. Right? So that's the pasuk is. What's the pasuk? It says. That your days should be increased, right? So in the future, that's being read here as like when you're all doing the mitzvot in a future period, a messianic period, and your days will be as long as the days of Shemayim al Haaretz, so the entire length of world history. Now again, the fact that means your days will increase, is that suggesting that means that people will live that long? Right? Is this a messianic era, epoch, but people will still live and die in a natural way, like whatever, maybe they'll live a little bit longer? Or does that mean when we're saying it's going to be 7,000 years or 5,000 years or whatever we're saying, is that suggesting that that's how long people live? That's not clear. Which isn't a big difference than the previous answer from the period of Noah until now. This will be like the days of Noah. So the way Rashi says is that the world will not be destroyed, right? God takes an oath until a period, the length of the period from Noah until now passes, right? Because remember, after the Messianic period, the world gets destroyed and an Olam Haba gets recreated. Okay, so it's saying that the same, right? And the oath by Noah was God wouldn't destroy the world. So the reading is that when Mashiach comes, there'll be a period of that longer world history, and then God will destroy the world. Okay. All of the visions in the prophets were for them, they view the lion will lie down with the what does lion lie down with? The guards, with the lamb or whatever. They'll beat their plows into their swords into plowshares. All of those visions are the messianic period. Aval the olam haba. When it comes to the world to come, the world that'll be afterwards, that'll be like truly, miraculous existence. In that case, no eye has seen that God. Like not even the prophetic eye has seen it. Only you, God, know what that time will be. You will do for the one who longs for it. This argues on Shmuel. Like Shmuel says, there is no difference between this world and the world to come, except whether we are subjugated to foreign powers. Okay, so for Shmuel, the Messianic period is very this worldly. So the visions of the prophets are oriented to Olam Haba. But according to the other opinion, no, Mashiach's period is miraculous. And the visions of the prophets are the Messianic period. And Olam Haba, you can't even begin to describe what that will be. All of the visions of the prophets and the amazing things that would happen, let's say in the Messianic period, that was only for the people that had sinned and then done tshuva. Aval tzadikim gemurim, those that had never sinned, ayin lo raschum zulasecha. That they haven't even begun to. They had no, nobody had a vision of that. Not even through their prophetic eye. What that reward will be and what that world will be. Now, giving a higher status to the tzaddikim gemurim over the Balei Tshuva argues on Rabbi Avo. Dama Rabbi Avo, makom shebalei Tshuva omdim sham tzaddikim enim omdim. The place where the Balei Tshuva stand, that'll be even at a higher place. The fully righteous will never stand. She'ein omdim sham. Shenemar shalom shalom l'rachok v'lakarov. Peace, peace to the distant and to the near. So bereish rachok. First, peace goes to those who started off as distant. Okay, v'hadar karov, and then to those that are near. My rachok. Rachok to mei kara. So rachok doesn't mean currently distant, but those that started distant and have drawn near, the Balei Tshuva. My kara, what is kara? Even kara to mei kara, udahashka, okay, those that have always been until now, and until now have always been close. But first peace is extended to those that have only drawn close now and have been near in the past.
Is this where we get the idea from, this verse, or they say this in other places as well?
You mean to quote other proof texts for this idea?
I mean, if the righteous don't stand with.
Yeah, I mean, this is an idea that is quoted in multiple places, but yes, but it's all the same quote. Okay. For Rabbi Yochanan Amar, now Rabbi Yochanan, who says that the tzaddikim gemurim are at a higher level. Rachok does not mean was distant from God. It means somebody that was always distant from sin. Karov means who gets the peace after is the one who is karov, is the one who's been close to sin and only now has distanced from it. Not a great read of the puzzle. Okay, all of these prophetic visions were for people that supported Torah learning. Somebody who married their daughter off to a Talmud Chacham, you have a Talmud Chacham be a partner with you in business, so you help provide him a parnasa, an easy parnasa, just invest his money for him. Okay, you benefit him, you give him a nice donation. Okay, aval, people that support Talmidei Chacham. Aval Talmidei Chachamim atzman, ayin lo rat Elohim zulatecha. For the reward of Torah learning itself, that nobody has had a vision of that. My ayin lo rata. Okay, now it's almost a little like after all of this, build up about, oh my God, it's so amazing. You won't even be able to imagine it, right? So now the Gemara says, okay, so what's it going to be? It's a little you have to think that has a little sense of humor. It also feels like a little puncturing, right? We're doing popping the balloon a little bit. Okay, what does that mean? I'm Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. And also the answer is such a letdown. It is like filtered wine that's been stored from Sheishis Mei Breishis. Oh, you know what that vision is that not even the prophets had? It's like the rarest, most perfect steak. You wouldn't believe it. So you have to imagine that this was a little humorous here, a little puncturing. That's the way I read it. Okay. Rish Lakish Omer Ze Eden. This is Eden. So the Gemara says, Lo rasa ayimei olam. Nobody has seen it. Adam, what do you mean? The first human lived in Eden. No, he lived Bagan. He lived only in the garden. Now, we assume the garden means like it's the choicest part. But he's saying, no, Im Tamar Gan who ate him, you'll think it's the same. Tamar, and now you'd say Eden Lash, go to Tagan. So it's the rest of Eden. That's where we're all going to live. Nobody has seen what Eden is and so on. Okay? Which again is pretty funny because the Torah's vision of Gan Eden is pretty this worldly. Okay, it's a beautiful place, right? But like the visions of the prophets of what the Messianic period are going to be certainly sound more ideal than the Torah's description of Eden, you know? So it does seem a little like puncturing here at the end, you know, this thing. Okay, anyway.
Well, the
Yes.
Torah's view, I guess, is man and God talk directly.
Oh, that's an interesting point. You mean it's not the physical aspect of Eden. I was thinking about it because I was still being influenced by the points about the wine. But you mean just the sense of God's like immediate presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Somebody says it there in your footnote?
Yeah, they say Eden is the world to come. The righteous will sit with their crowns and delight in the radiance of.
Yeah, so that's that other Gemara about
Maharsha.
Olam Haba, right? Which is, you know, the crowns on their head and directly benefiting from the divine presence. Okay, so now it says like this. Now that we are done with sort of laying out this whole period of Tchias HaMesim, Olam Haba, Yemos HaMashiach, and so on, because that's what you don't get if you don't believe in, do the things or don't believe in the things that are mentioned in the Mishnah. And the first person was a person who doesn't believe in Olam Haba. Now we get to turn to the rest of the list. And the next big one is Ha'omer Ein Torah Min HaShamayim, that you say that Torah is not from heaven. So let's take a look. Tanu Rabbanan, Ha'omer Ein Torah Min HaShamayim. Tanu Rabbanan. Kidvar Hashem Bazah, because the pasuk is Kidvar Hashem Bazah. This person has like despised. How do they translate the word Bazah? Degraded, demeaned. The word of the Lord he has bizoy. I don't know what. Anyway, they'll tell me what you get to it. Anyway, because the word of the God he has despised or demeaned. You know, that person shall be surely cut off. His sin is with him. Despised. Okay, so. But of course, karet is not that you don't have a portion in the world to come. Plenty of people get karet, right? You know, I mean, there are plenty of sins that you get karet for. So maybe it's the double language of hikaret, you know, but even that double language occurs elsewhere. Sometimes we read hikaret to mean olam haba. So it's not so explicit in the pasuk, but nevertheless, this is the pasuk that serves as the basis of this. That if you deny Torah min hashemayim, you don't have a portion in the world to come. Tanu Rabbanan, Kidvar Hashem Bazal Mitzvoto Hefer Hikaret Zeh Omer Ein Torah Min HaShamayim. This Torah is not from heaven because you're despising the Devar Hashem, the word of God. You're saying it's not God's word; it's a human being's word. Okay. Davar Acher Kidvar Hashem Bazal Zeh Apikaros. This is the Apikaros. Now I need to pause here for a second because everybody assumes Apikaros means like a heretic. Right? And therefore, it becomes a catchword for meaning anybody who doesn't believe in what we say the dogma of Judaism is. That is how Rambam reads that word, because Rambam is the one that decided to catalog and to, not just catalog, but to articulate and to try to systematize and sort of identify, you know, Ikrei Amuna, fundamental dogma. And therefore, Rambam said, so where does Rambam get his hook? Where do you get the hook? That there's a list of dogma that you have to believe in it and so on. So Rambam's hook is this idea of apikaris. We'll see about that more when we get to the line of apikaris in the Mishnah. But that's not what it means from the Gemara's perspective. From the Gemara's perspective, as we will see, an apikaris is somebody who just acts in a disrespectful way towards Torah or towards Torah scholars. Okay, like the Gemara says, the classic definition of apikaris is mevazeh talmidei chachamim, which is exactly the word ki devar Hashem bazah, mevazeh. Somebody who acts like, you know, in a demeaning way towards Torah scholars. So that is showing that you are despising and demeaning God's words, because the people that are the embodiment or the representatives of God's words, you're acting towards them in this, you know, highly disrespectful way. Okay? So that apikaris. So that explains the two lines in our Mishnah. Ein Torah min hashamayim and apikaris. Both of those are ways of showing disrespect, you know, and demeaning Dvar Hashem. The one who reveals faces in the Torah. Now, what does this mean? So normally, often, you will hear the phrase Megaleh panim b'Torah shelo kahalacha, and it's read to mean somebody who who explicates the Torah in a way that's not consistent with the halacha. I don't know. Let's say somebody says ayin tachas ayin means literal. Torah is so terrible. It says ayin tachas ayin, an eye for an eye, and you're interpreting it not the way halacha interprets it. Okay, but That is not what that phrase, means in the Gemara. The Gemara does not have the phrase shelo k'halacha. It doesn't have it here. We're going to turn the page. It's not going to have it for the whole page. One place it has it, but it's clearly a gloss. That shelo k'halacha is like a later gloss of that phrase. Megaleh panim does not mean you reveal an aspect of the Torah and you explicate it in a way that's wrong. Megaleh panim means, gilui panim means to act brazen. Okay, brazenly towards the Torah. So the way you relate to the words of the Torah is in a brazen and disrespectful and type of a way. How do they translate it in English? Insolent towards the Torah. There you go. Okay, so that's important to know because often the phrase shelo k'halacha is tagged on, but that is not the original phrase. All right, so Hamigaleh panim b'Torah. Okay, so ve'et mitzoto hifar, and he has sort of violated or loosened, the mitzvot. Zeh meifir brit basar. This is the one that has reversed the covenant of the flesh. People that sort of do a reverse surgery to put back their foreskin. Be cut off in this world, cut off in the next world. By the way, you note, right? It's not like the Gemara here, right? Again, I want to just underscore this, that it's Rambam that developed this idea of like dogma, and if you don't believe, you're not bikaris, and so on. Like these types of things are a collection of issues of attitudes and beliefs and actions, right? The person who acts disrespectfully to Talmidei Chachamim, and the person who doesn't believe in Torah Sinai, and the person who reverses his Brit Milah, right? We're not talking about dogma here, right? We're talking about a attitude towards, towards God, towards Torah, towards Talmidei Chachamim, towards your relationship with God. Okay, so all of this is, it's really Rambam that turns this into an issue of dogma. Anyway, where were we?
Is that Mark Shapiro's line? I mean, is that his direction when he goes through that's
not
the 13 attributes.
Mark Shapiro's got other things he's dealing with, but the one that I just made is not my chiddush, or not Mark Shapiro's chiddush either. Many it's been noted for a long time, like even by like we showed him, like the Chassam Sofer. I think it was the Chassam Sofer. He was very upset that the Rambam sort of says that there are 13 Ikrei Emunah. The whole thing, he says there's no 13 Ikrei Emunah. The Chassam Sofer said there's basically 2 Ikrei Emunah. Can you get what the two? You really only have to believe 2 things, and everything else sort of follows. What would these 2 things be?
Hashem,
God and Torah. Okay, God exists, and God gave the Torah. Everything else, especially if you throw in Torah Shabbat Pet, then you got everything. Anyway, but the idea to systematize it, to create this identity of an apikaris, this idea of a list of dogma, like it's not in the Gemara. Okay. Okay. Says in Pirkei Avos, somebody who desecrates the sacrifices and disrespects, again, there's the word mivazeh, the moadot, which Rashi said means chol hamoed, that because that's maybe the one that's more vulnerable, that you'll disrespect it. Somebody who reverses the brit milah. Here's the shelo k'halacha stuck in, but it shouldn't be there. One who acts brazenly towards the Torah. Somebody who shames his friend in the masses. No matter how many mitzvahs you have, you want to have a portion in the world to come. Now, is all of that learned out from this pasuk of Ki Dvar Hashem Bazah? It'd be interesting to try to stick this in. Like, how are the sacrifices Dvar Hashem? I mean, okay, there's something that's sanctified by God, right? And the Moed is time that's sanctified by God. How about Malbim Pnei Chavero? Is that because human beings are created b'tselem Elohim? So all these are ways of desecrating and being mivazeh, things that are godly. That would seem to be the case, and Rashi sort of seems to read it that way. Okay, Tanya Ido, we come another breita. Torah is not from heaven. Everything, just for one verse, because it's Devar Hashem, even one word of God. Okay, so even if you deny one pasuk, but Moshe said it on his own. He didn't say it through God. That is to denigrate, to despise the word of God. From one little inference Mikavachomer is that one little kavachomer that a rabbinic interpretation, which gets to real questions, right? Because what does that mean? Is every rabbinic interpretation directly from God? Don't the rabbis apply certain hermeneutic principles and then derive it on their own? Is it only the stuff that we're supposed to understand was given over at Har Sinai? That part of the Torah Shebaal Peh? Okay, maybe it means that you deny the rabbi's authority to interpret it. Anyway, chutz mi gzera shava zo, everything except for this one linking of the verses. Gzera shava at least is supposed to be like given over from Har Sinai. Zeu ki dvar Hashem bazad. The Marsha says that the emphasis here is again on the word davar, and here it's davar as opposed to something that is written. It's not only if you deny a written verse, which is not just a dibur, not just speech, but actually ksav. Even if you deny part of the oral Torah, just the oral part of it, the dibur part of it. Tanya, we're talking Brisa. Hi, Rabbi Meir Omer. Halome Torah ve'ino melamda. If you learn Torah and don't teach it, zeu ki dvar Hashem bazah. So the Marsha says again, because you can learn it without verbalizing, but to teach you have to verbalize. So to not teach it is to be mevazeh, to be demeaning, whatever, despising of the Dvar Hashem, of the verbalizing of God's word. Again, though, notice that the Gemara just is easily slipping between issues of faith and issues of attitude and issues of action and so on. Okay? Nelson Omer, this applies to anybody who's not careful on the Mishnah to repeat it and to learn it over again, again, because the Mishnah explains what the psukim mean and so on. Somebody who basically can learn Torah, and instead you decide, you're going to just read a novel or watch TV. Okay, so you're not showing, the fact that you're giving priority to other things over Dvar Hashem. That's Ki Dvar Hashem Bazah. Okay, that's so funny. Like we're trying to say, even small little things can be Dvar Hashem Bazah. He says, well, like if you want to really, okay, I don't approve of all that other stuff, but it's, if you want to really talk about the punishment of this pasuk, we're going to interpret it of Ein lo chelech l'olam haba, right? Let's limit it to stuff that's the real weighty. Ovid of Zara. My mashma. This is the one thing that's going to say, where do you get a Zara in the pasuk? Everything else is fine. Where do you get a Zara? The Tana debate Rabbi Shmuel, Ki Dvar Hashem Bazah, Zeh Mavaza Dibur, Shenemar Lo L'Moshe V'Sanei. You are rejecting the prime dibur of God. What is that prime dibur? Anochi Hashem Elokech. It's also the one that we all heard. Okay. Lo Yeh Locha Lehim Acherim. Okay, so that is Dvar Hashem, the Dvar Hashem that you directly heard. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Karch Omer, since we're talking about that, if you don't repeat it, well, did we say you don't repeat it? Yeah, we said Eino Mashkiach al HaMishnah. Okay, so in a similar way, if you sort of learn it but you don't do Chazara, right? It's like planting without harvesting. Like, what good is it going to do? The seed is just going to rot in the ground. If you want to cultivate it and make it take root and make it grow and make it be something lasting, you have to do Chazara. Okay, Rabbi Yehoshua, and that could be a type of a Dvar Hashem Bazah as well. If you value it, you're going to learn it again and again. Rabbi Yehoshua, anybody who learns Torah and forgets it, so that would be an expected outcome of not doing Chazara, but this is the actual fact that you actually have forgotten it. Oh, what a terrible image. A woman who gives birth and then buries her child, okay? That is completely, it's not just, if you plant seeds and you don't cut them, stuff might still grow, who knows, maybe, but here it's it's completely lost. So what's the point? Why did you go through, also if you think about the whole image before about Chevle Leida of Mashiach, why did you go through all this effort? There's actually, what is it called? ROI, return on investment. You put in all this effort to produce something, it's actually sometimes less effort is required to sustain it and to actually the follow through. But often we don't bother with the follow through. Why did you go through all this effort if you're just going to not, do the little bit that's going to be required to sustain it, and then you're going to let it all go to waste? Rabbi Akiva says, Zemer b'cho yom, that your Torah should be a song every day. Now, the Marsha says maybe Zemer, again, is this image of planting, means Zomer means to cut the weeds, to prune, not to cut the weeds, to prune. It's sort of every day you should be tending to what you planted and pruning it and distilling it and so on. But it's better to read it, I think, as a song. the way you keep Torah going is, so either literally or figuratively, like a song. You do it over and over and over again. The same way, you get a jingle in your head and you keep on singing it or whatever. So if you sort of make it like a song and you say it over and over again, that way it'll stick with you. But it also could literally mean that you actually do like have a nigun to it, like in the Cheders, they used to have a whole nigun to the learning. And, and we remember things, right? We remember songs probably better than we remember in terms of the words of songs, anything else, because they're associated with music and it sticks in our head. Okay. So that's the way that you will get, do you want to say something about that, Gloria?
It could also be just learning Torah with joy.
Oh, with joy. Okay, that could be too. Right. Although with the context here, I think is about like remembering it and sustaining it. So, but you mean maybe the joy also is a way in which it sort of, reinforces your desire, right, to keep it up and to keep on learning it. Okay. Right, actually Rashi says that. If you look at Rashi, so constantly like repeat it like a song. So there you go, Gloria, with joy. Okay. What is the verse? It says, Nevesh amal amla lo ki akafalav pihu. If you put in the effort, then it will work for you. Like say like having your money work for you. Here's having your Torah work for you. If you make it into a song, then it will work for you. So Rashi says, Torah omelis lo. So what does it mean it will work for him? You'll get reward from it. Does it mean that it'll, like the Maharsha says, it means in Olam Haba, you'll be revealed the hidden secrets of the Torah. But I also think, how like it's this sort of the percolating effect. Like, you're trying to figure something out and you can't get to it. And then you go and you take a little walk, to get a cup of coffee. And all of a sudden, like the meaning hits you, right? Because you're not conscious of it, but part of your brain is still processing it. So I think that's how I'd like to read it. Like if you're singing it and going over it and whatever, then even when you're not talking in the Torah, it's working for you. It's going on somewhere in your head and it's actually processing and, maybe even revealing things that you weren't thinking of when you were sort of consciously working on it. Okay. So, because his mouth has a kafala, which we're going to read, Rashi says like an ukaf, like a saddle. You're working here. The Torah and you've got your Torah working for you somewhere else, in Olam Haba, in the back of your head, whatever it is. I'm a Rabbi Eliezer. Every person is created for work. Okay, this is like pasuk. Like, isn't that a pasuk in like a Koheles? Anyway, Shne'emar. Oh yeah, it is. There you go. Eov, not Koheles. Ki amad adam amal yulad. A person is created for labor, for work. Does that mean to do like work with the mouth? Or to do, physical labor. So you could sort of say like, what type of job do you want to get? You want to get a job that's physical or the one that's intellectual? But here it means, is it work in the field of Torah or work in the sort of field of labor? Okay, so because his mouth is a kaf. Rashi sort of means like it's a saddle, like you sort of like you put it like I don't know, like you connect, you deeply connect to it. That it's the labor of the mouth, which obviously is we're getting to Torah. Does that mean that you're supposed to devote yourself to Torah? Maybe devote yourself to, I don't know, conversation. You're supposed to be a speechwriter or something, okay? Or just, obviously, or you just say mean foolish talk, but whatever it is. It might be something verbal, but how do you know it means Torah? And there's the word peh. Let this sefer Torah not be removed from your mouth. You're created to spend your time talking and learning in Torah. This is what Rabbi says. All people are created for, Rashi says it means for like as laborers. Good are the ones that merit that they become workers in Torah. Okay, so back now to this idea of constantly reviewing your Torah. It's fascinating, I got to say. And something that was about Torah Mina Shemayim, we're spending all this time talking about, like, not forgetting your Torah, doing Chazara, etc. And again, it gets to the point that the Gemara is less interested in dogma per se, as more as it's interested in relationship and attitudes and actions and so on. So therefore, this is the opposite of Dvar Hashem Bazah. The opposite of Dvar Hashem Bazah is how do you invest your energies and your time to show your love of Torah and to own Torah. All right. So now, v'noif isha chaser leiv, a man who commits adultery is lacking of heart. Amar Reish Lakish, zeh lo me Torah leprakim. This is like somebody who learns Torah, every now and then when you get a chance, okay? It's not like you have a marriage to Torah, which is an ongoing thing. Like, it's like a mistress, okay? So, and that does not lead to a deep, meaningful, relationship. They're pleasant when you keep them in your belly, then they will be established well on your lips. Okay, so that's sort of like the flip of Dvar Shem Bazah. Now we're getting back to examples of Ki Dvar Shem Bazah. The person that does with an outstretched arm, Zeh Menashe ben Chizkiah. That's Menashe ben Chizkiah. He was sitting and sort of, expounding on nonsense types of teachings and sermons. Why did Moshe have to write, that Lotan's sister was Timnah, and Timnah was the concubine of Esav? Like, who needs all the generation? Like, even if it maybe had to say that because we want to know, there's questions, which part of the pasuk is he questioning? Why was all the wives of Esav mentioned? Or maybe what he was saying was, why do we have to know the whole generations, the whole descent, the way the Marsha explains it, that this Pileget, that this concubine was descendant of all of these Horite princes, and you had to have all of these verses in the Torah? Like, what's the need of that whole context? Okay. Now, also, why does it have to say that he went and he found these mandrakes? Now, what exactly is bothering him? I mean, it's part of the whole story about Leah and whatever. Maybe what's bothering him is, again, that the whole idea of the mandrakes, I mean, that would be the common theme here, is seen as something like a type of an aphrodisiac, maybe. So maybe also the idea of pilegesh. Maybe what's bothering him is, like, why is it dealing with these type of sexual issues? Anyway, why did it need all these stories? Okay, Yatzta Baskova Amrlo. So notice again, he didn't say, now the question is, was he saying God didn't say it? Moshe said it? Because he sort of says, like, why did Moshe write it? So is his sin that he doesn't believe that the Torah is Sinai? Or is sin more like Kidvar Shem Bazah, like he's just being disrespectful to the words of Torah? Whether you're saying, why did Moshe write it or why did God write it? Either way, he's saying, like, this is silly. Why is this in the Torah? All right, and that seems to be more of the Gemara's point, okay? Rashi says, but again, the question is the point here denying that God wrote it, or more questioning, just being disrespectful in general? Anyway, so Yatzta Baskov Amrlo, so a heavenly voice came out and said, Teshev Bachicha, will you speak against your brother, speak against your mother's son, and sort of ascribe dofi, ascribe like not ascribe foolishness? So how could you say such a thing about Ella asita v'hecharashti? If you have done this and I would have remained silent, tamita, or I had remained silent, heyoti yekamocha, you thought that I was agreeing with you because I wasn't protesting. This is actually very good about silent. What's that? Being a silent enabler, not standing up. All evil needs to prosper for good men to remain silent. So this is a pasuk. Because I was silent, you thought I was one of you. I will remonstrate you, and I will sort of lay out my argument against you. Okay, so the Basko said, like, how dare you suggest such a thing? Woe to those who drag this iniquity with ropes of nothingness, and like the cords of the wagon, they drag sin. What does that mean? Originally, the Yetzer Hara is like a spider, like a string of a spider's web. If you sort of allow it to continue, it gets to be as thick as a cord of a wagon. Now, the Asan Alamiyas, Achos Lotan Timna, which basically seems to be the point, like, how's that anyway relevant here? It seems the relevance here is that if you allow yourself a little type of disrespectful attitude, like, it's one thing to say, like, I want to understand why God wrote this in the Torah. You're allowed to ask those questions. What is the purpose of this, right? But if you say, this is foolish, it's stupid, this doesn't belong to the Torah, right? So even if that seems like it's a small little thing, like it says, all right, it's one thing you said, whatever, but that attitude can like grow and develop and so on, and it leads to a deep sense of rejection, and disrespect. Okay. So now the Gemara says, okay, now let's discuss what the purpose of those psukim are, since we're talking about it. Why was that mentioned? Timna bas malachim. She was a daughter of kings. Aluf lotan aluf timna. And any aluf means like a king without the crown. Okay, so it's a certain position of leadership. So she wanted to convert, even though she was the daughter of kings of the Chori. She went to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They refused to accept her. You're from these non-Jew, whatever. So then she became a concubine to Asa. I'd rather be a maidservant, just a concubine to this nation, rather than being, a great mistress in some other nation, a great woman in some other nation. Navik min Amalek, and the daughter, right, of this, right, which was the nation that caused all of that, attack the Jews and represents evil. So Nitzarinu Israel, that afflicted the Jewish people. My timer. Why did that emerge from it? She didn't do anything wrong. She wanted to be connected to the Jewish people. So why did Amalek come from her? We brought it on ourselves. We shouldn't have pushed her away. Okay, if you look at Rashi, top Rashi on the left-hand column, they should have agreed to convert her. So this Gemara is quoted by people, who say, talk about the attitude we have of creating all these, these really impossible high thresholds for conversion. Sincere people want to convert, there are consequences to be paid when we don't do that. Anyway, let's just finish it. He makes tzir chitim, so let's talk about that pasuk. The point of writing that is that he went when they were cutting the wheat, and at that time, right, it was allowed for him to go into other fields. Presumably, it wasn't considered trespassing at that time. Okay, so if you look at Rashi, after they did the harvesting, nobody minds if you cut through their field. So that's why it emphasized that's why he went at that time. Okay. My dudaim, what are these dudaim? We normally translate them as mandrakes. Amarav Yavruche, they're Yavruche. Levi Amar Sigli. Yonasan Amar Seviski. I have no idea what any of those things are. Do they translate them in your English?
Oh, yeah, Sigli and Seviski, 1 second.
All right. Well, there's some type of flower.
He says, Rashi says that translated Sigli is a violet.
Violet. Oh, right. That is what sigli is, I think, in modern Hebrew. Okay. Let's just read a little bit more. The
other is a certain type of spice.
Okay. Okay. I'm Rabbi Alexandra. Back to the positive, since we're mentioning the negative. If you learn Torah for its right reason, you make peace in the family above and the family below, in heaven and on earth. Two types of peace. Peace above, peace below. Like you build a palace above and below. That's my words in your mouth, going back to the whole word of peh, right? Repeating it, loving it, doing chazara. To plant heaven and to found the earth. So basically, if you really love it and connect to it, you both serve God and you serve this world. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, protects the entire world. So the power of learning Torah, this is the opposite of mevazet var Hashem, is that this is what keeps the world protected. This is what sustains the world. The Levi Omer, you bring close the redemption. If you teach your friend's son Torah, because it's like you created this person because you gave them a spiritual life. Presumably your friend wasn't able to teach them, and you did it. The souls that they made. So normally it means it's converted or whatever, but here it means like if they made, because they spread God's word to them. They told them about God. So, it's like you gave them a spiritual birth. You made them born again, right? So, Rabbi Linzer Omer, Torah. You've sort of turned them into Torah words. You've made them walking Torah. You yourself have participated in making the Torah a real thing by spreading it. If you love Torah so much that you want to spread it and bring it in the world, you help to create Torah. Okay? You will not just perform them, but you will make them. You make the words of this brief by teaching them. It's like you made yourself by teaching and spreading Torah, you have transformed yourself in the process. You make yourself. Now, this is not exactly connected, but we're talking about making others and making yourself. So we're shifting a little from the Torah focus. Anybody who encourages or compels his friend to do a mitzvah, it's like you did it. Is the staff you smote the river? Was Moshe the one who smote? Aaron was Aaron. If you make your friend do a mitzvah, like you did it. So that was a little bit of a digression. Okay, we'll pick up tomorrow with seeing who is the apikoros, and I will just tell you, as I've been telling you, it is not the apostate, and it is not a word in the Gemara that means somebody who does not believe in the Ikrei Emunah, which I am about to tell you what they are, which is what Rambam did to that word. Okay, but we will see about that tomorrow.